Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. I hope the week's gone well and you've got some great plans for this long weekend. Let me start with two photographs I took of the city of Nairobi from Movenpick's new hotel, where they've got this revolving restaurant top. I think it's on the 24th floor. And these two photographs I took from up there. It's quite interesting to look at the city from that perspective. Macro thoughts. Well, as you know, last weekend I said you need to sell Facebook. I continue to believe that that's the right trade to deal with. I actually recommended selling it earlier, but that was on Twitter. It had a little bounce yesterday. Let me take a look. And it's bouncing a little bit more today. So we're about 154. My target was 150, which we hit. But I think we're headed considerably lower. Playboy is the latest high-profile name to delete Facebook as backlash to the Cambridge Analytica data scandal continues. Volatility in one chart, yesterday's intraday moves of the Nasdaq 100 ETF, that's via JS Blockland. And we've seen heavy selling in the tech space. In case you missed it, German Bund yield back below 0.5% on trade war fears and big risk-off trade. It just confounds expectations, doesn't it? There's always something happening and then people fly back into it. But the distortion is real and massive. The US 10-year Treasury yield curve hit a fresh decade-long low below 50 basis points. That's another interesting development. Home thoughts, I went back to Victor Hugo, Les Miserables, who said there is nothing like a dream to create the future. I'm dreaming. Here's a wallpaper for you, calm beach vibes for you. I must say they did calm me. Freedom is the most powerful weapon in the world. This is from P. Regeru. Have a listen to this. I saved your spot for you. Man freed from prison after 23 years for a crime he didn't commit. 23 years. He's welcome back to his job with the Chicago White Sox with open arms. Just check out his mood. It's amazing. I like the look of this Okonomiyaki village yokocho. Look delicious, I must say. And then one of my favorite quotes, which is from Salman Rushdie: ours is the most cryptic of centuries, its true nature, the dark side. Political reflections: Russian anti-submarine aircraft fly across the North Pole for the first time since Soviet times, Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu says. And they're continually probing the limits of their power projection. The Orthodox Jews working toward a Middle East peace deal are now looking like the moderates Mr. Kushner has told people. That's after the appointment of Ambassador John Bolton. Kushner has joked about the Middle East views of Bolton, who has said he opposes a two-state solution. South Korea's Moon and North Korea's Kim are to hold a summit on April 27. And obviously that was what his sister had been sent to Pyeongchang to establish. Have a look at this photograph, a nice cup of tea. That's from Tristan Webb. That's Xi Jinping and Kim and their respective wives. Interesting short video from Bloomberg Asia. Roads to Pyongyang go through Beijing. Asia Society's Stone Fish says, which is what I was also saying about Xi Jinping's O-Ball program, which binds the world to Beijing because all the roads and railways have but one destination, and that is China. CSIS, talking of Mr. and Mrs. Kim, go to Beijing. At a minimum, this represents an effort at policy coordination in advance of the two spring summits between North and South Korea, and the US and North Korea, not unlike what the United States is now doing with its allies in Seoul and Tokyo. I still remain of the view that I expressed in September last year when I said it is entirely unlikely that the West has anything to offer the Chinese that can compensate them for the loss of their hinterland, their buffer, and their instrument of attack. I said then one of those myths is that Xi Jinping, with some cajoling, can be made to effect a clean break with Pyongyang. Consider that Pyongyang is a buffer state between China and the US, and Pyongyang is in fact a near-perfect geopolitical attack dog. The attack dog is not on a Chinese leash, but is surely aligned with the resurgent, rising China, whose aim is surely to eject the US and its allies from what it considers its sphere of influence. Just look at the South China Sea, where the US and its allies have largely capitulated. And the US is now left performing some half-hearted and quite forlorn follow-ups once in a blue moon. North Korea, by lobbing those missiles over Japan, is seeking to prize Japan away from its US alliance, something that China is surely trying to achieve as well. When you look at geopolitical alignment, it is entirely unlikely, I said, that the West has anything to offer the Chinese that can compensate them for the loss of their hinterland, their buffer, and their instrument of attack. That was written then. We're seeing considerable movement in the diplomatic field late, but I think when push comes to shove, the US will have to pony up guarantees, and I can't see them doing that. And I also said this year in February, China was never interested in bringing him to heel. After all, he is the buffer state between China and more than 30,000 soldiers parked on their doorstep in South Korea. And that article I was talking about the visit of Kim's sister, quoting Lao Tzu, water is fluid, soft and yielding. Water will wear away rock, which is rigid and cannot yield. As a rule, whatever is fluid, soft and yielding will overcome whatever is rigid and hard. This is another paradox. What is soft is strong. Then I was saying South Korea is set to be peeled off, and going by his puppy dog smiles, President Moon River will be in Pyongyang, I said, before you can pronounce Kim Yo-jong correctly. Russia always had their back. China was never interested in bringing him to heel. But we've got further developments which we need to keep an eye on. September 2017, I wrote that piece, "A Screaming Comes Across the Sky." It is a curve, each of them feels unmistakably. It is the parabola. They must have guessed, once or twice guessed, and refused to believe that everything always, collectively, had been moving toward that purified shape, latent in the sky, that shape of no surprise, no second chance, no return. And then in 2010, I was writing about how far away in distant lands lies the Hermit Kingdom. They've all had tiny little hands, like the elves and the shoemaker. And this country has nuclear weapons, I said, and on its border with its neighbor South Korea sit 25,000 American soldiers. Investors seem to be betting on one strength as the so-called Korea discount is relatively lifted with tension easings of Park Yong-woo to Bloomberg. Asia's most volatile currency has weathered multiple nuclear tests from North Korea in recent years, and came under pressure last week amid concern had been the line of fire if a trade spat between China and the US worsened, touched a one-month low of 1084.25. But it's now back at 1063, 1065. The cost of insuring South Korea's 5-year notes using credit default swaps declined this week as well. "I have never heard of anyone being poisoned in Russia," said the Russian ambassador to Australia, Loginov. "Perhaps food poisoning." And then Oliver Stone is promoting an article which is reading the strange case of the Russian spy poisoning, applying the principle of cui bono, who benefits, and saying the chances of the truth emerging have become vanishingly small. The petroleum economist is saying the decision by the Houthis to fire volleys of missiles towards targets in Saudi Arabia is further proof that an end to Yemen's conflict is nowhere in sight, which is what I said when I was writing about the Crown Prince, and I said NBS arrived on the scene and immediately launched an unwinnable war in Yemen. International markets, who's winning at Deutsche Bank? Total return of Deutsche Bank stocks versus bonds. Obviously, better to hold bonds. Tesla bonds, ouch, the current implied yield of nearly 7.7% on Tesla 2025 debt. And interestingly, Nissan and Renault now said to be in talks to merge, create one company and trade as a single stock. Renault shares spike 8.5%, highest since December 2007. Big tech stocks have been getting a fearful beating and lost another $50 billion in market cap, with Amazon in focus. Axios reporting that President Trump has it in for Jeff Bezos. Lost another $50 billion in market cap. Amazon lost $32 billion after the Axios report. Trump is obsessed with regulating the e-commerce behemoth to help mom and pop retailers. Currency markets, let's start with euro dollar 123.06, dipped below 123 momentarily. Dollar index 19.03. Japanese yen, which had a big sell-off yesterday, now at 106.55. Swiss franc 0.9562. The pound 140.45. I think it topped 142 if I'm not mistaken, not too long ago. Australian dollar 0.7669, India rupee 65.195, South Korean won 1065.53, Brazilian real 332.10, Egyptian pound 17.6397, and the rand, of course, when they had a small rate cut, barely budged 11.76.42. We just have to be a bit more patient for that move towards 11. Which I promised. Dollar index, let's have a look at this 3-month chart. I'm sticking with my 88 stop, and we're just above 90 again. The euro dollar, T commodity, whose chart this is very bullish. He's buying it for a move to 126. We're currently at 123.05, middle of the range with 125.60 in my view, capping things. The pound, which of course had that stunning recovery. Take a look at this chart from Bloomberg. We're last at 140.45. The total market capitalization of crypto assets is down 66% from its high back in January. Take a look at the charts from JS Blockland Gold. Where's that now? 1,324. We've come back off the top of the range. Crude oil, $64.65 in New York, near the top. Sub-Saharan Africa, Sisi on course for big election win, or who would have thought? Early estimates say. Some private television stations reporting that he could achieve a vote share of 95% or more. He tweeted, "The voice of the Egyptian masses will undoubtedly bear witness to the fact that our nation's will imposes itself with a force that knows no weakness." I think he's trying to talk about himself. Have a look at this Africa Investment Index 2018. Very interesting reading. The Maghreb leading the way in terms of sucking in investments. And I think that's partly all about Egypt, right? Because they did everything right on the economic front and made themselves attractive to investors. Ethiopia completes historic leadership change. Chose a new prime minister, selecting a young politician from one of the country's most marginalized ethnic groups in a bid for national reconciliation. The world's fastest growing economy that has been threatened by domestic unrest. The ruling party, EPRDF, has an iron fist. It is an implementer of a draconian state of emergency, one of the most extraordinarily effective mechanisms in the history of political parties I've ever seen. Opening up doesn't come naturally. That's Martina Stevis. Today, the country's population is a youth explosion. Chinese billions are pouring in, despite the government still keeping tight control over critical aspects of the economy, banking, retail, telecoms. Addis Ababa is a strategic partner to the US, Europe, and China. Martina again. I wrote in October 2016 the government need to change tack and effect a course correction. And history shows us that this course correction is one of the most difficult things to pull off. And I still think they're going to go too hard line. It's a very delicate operation. What I think will determine the country's fate is how much the military and intelligence community work with and obey the new Prime Minister, highly unlikely, how much they'll become faithful to the Constitution, so things must be seen from this perspective. Khartoum continues to play the field, and now mega deal for port of Suakin with Qatar. Reuters reports $4 billion. If true, it's the biggest deal in the Horn by far. Matina again. Jose Filomeno dos Santos has been named a suspect in a $500 million fraud case. He was actually the fellow who was running the Sovereign Wealth Fund, would you believe? Isabel dos Santos' sister, of course, was sacked as head of Sonatgol, is Africa's richest woman, and is prone to throwing out some really quite sad tweets. Incredible ones, in point of fact. I like what I'm seeing in Angola, I said on the 2nd of January 2018, and on the 19th of February 2018 I spoke of the winds of change. The $500 million at the centre of an alleged fraud involving the son of Angola's former president was transferred out in a Standard Chartered account held by Angola's central bank. We are aware that our client Banco Nacional de Angola was the victim of an attempted fraud in Angola which involved the transfer of funds from their Standard Chartered bank account. Look at this photograph, it's quite extraordinary. KZN KwaZulu-Natal woman stabs another woman to death following a scuffle in a tavern. Meanwhile, the technician couldn't be bothered and had to continue changing his tyre. South African Central Bank trimmed the repo rate as inflation slows. They trimmed it by just a quarter point, and that's why the rand has been relatively resilient. South African all shares down 7.97% this year, dollar versus rand. Take a look at the 6-month chart in that 12, 11.55 range. You buy it at 12, you lighten up at 11.55, but eventually we're going to 11 in my view. Nigerian all shares up 6.69% year to date. Ghana protesters are rallying against a US military deal, which I notice the US are now denying. Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index is the world's best. It's up 29.19% this year. Olam eyes fish farming in Africa to tap growing middle class, conducting a feasibility study on farming fish in West Africa, likely in Nigeria. We believe that there's opportunity for fish farming in Africa. Today, a lot of the fish is imported. We think there's a lot of potential to grow it and make it far more easily available and at cheaper cost to the general population. Where we feel that corporate farming can work, we're looking at investments in building large-scale corporate farms. Olam again. Uganda Communications Commission suspends the license of 23 radio stations for allegedly promoting witchcraft. Can't make it up, can you? Hope they don't tell Trump about that. Kenya has deported Miguna again. I tweeted, however, in the most valuable of currencies characterized his share of voice, he has had a parabolic return, because of course this whole thing has gone all over the world. A parabola, of course, is a curve each of them feels unmistakably it is the parabola. Kenyan pundit asks, so who will be the fall guy here amongst the three? This is a cartoon of the government's lack of interest in the rule of law. Hassan Garat one. I think they should have handled this a lot better. I'm sure he's upset some very senior people because he's been prone to make very wild accusations, but at the same time I think it's going to be handled with more delicacy and finesse. I&M Holdings reported that full-year earnings per share declined 7.107%. Loans and advances to customers expanded 13.62% to 153 billion. EPS, as we said, was down 7.107% at 16 shillings and 47 cents. Dividend was unchanged. Net NPL and advances surged 189.51%. Um, Earnings were mainly impacted by a 40% year-on-year increase in provisions. OPEX in turn went up by 15.9%. Look, it's in line with its peer average in my view. But have a look at those results. Price earnings ratio 7.589, not too bad. Kenya Re reported full year earnings per share increased 8.723%. Gross premiums written was up 11.95%. Total income up 6.8%, 18.18 billion. Operating expenses were down 6.73%. Profit before tax up 8.072%. EPS up 8.723%. Dividend was hiked to 6.25%. It's a very cheap share on a classic PE metric, just 3.32. But it's been cheap for years. Liberty, Kenya, reported full year earnings per share was up 35.043%. Share price is up this year 13.52%, not difficult to see why. Gross earned premium revenue was up just 1.45%, telling you they're playing a more defensive game. Investment income was up 20.776%, 3 billion. Total income was up 7.321%. Therefore, results of operating activities was up 17.06%. Profit before income tax up 17.06%. EPS up 35.043%, and they're paying a 50-cent dividend for the first time, so that's going to get everyone happy. So strong results, in my view, plain and simple. Did not chase headline growth, but seemingly sweated the business effectively. And the dividend of 50 cents is a subtle yet muscular message. Sanlam reported full year earnings per share declined 66.66%. Sanlam's share price is up 1.8% this year. Gross written premium up 21.922% at 6.36 billion. Fair value gains up 181%. Total income was up 18.813%. So you might well ask, what on earth happened? Well, this happened. Full year impairment of financial assets, 1.12 billion. That's up 1,104%. I can only believe that they've done something foolish, like deposit money at Chase Bank or something. We'll yet to find out. And that probably led to the departure of the CEO. No dividend. EPS is 21 cents versus 63 cents last time. Look, the issue is at hand is that impairment of financial assets, pure and simple. Otherwise, it's trading on a P of 134.52, but obviously they're not going to repeat such an impairment, are they? Insurance firms, according to the Business Daily, have injected 20 billion shillings in new capital in the last 2 years. Total Kenya reported earnings per share up 22.535%. Total has surged 39.36% year to date. Gross sales up 23.977% at 137.09 billion. Net sales up 25.222% at 111.42 billion. Other income, that's at 1.09 billion. Operating expenses up 8.33%. Profit before tax up 4.992%. Profit after tax up 22.554%. EPS up 22.535%. Dividend per share hiked 22.642% to 1 shilling and 30 cents. Net sales plus 25%, increase in margins plus 5% the same. They're saying, the increase in other income was all about the strategy of development in non-fuel activity. I'm saying the strong earnings, the dividend hike is good, headline revenue growth is another thing, and it's a very attractively priced share in my humble opinion. National Bank reported full year earnings per share surged 447%. Who would have thought? National Bank is down 4.27% year to date. Let's have a look at what they said. Total interest income was down 17.671%. A loan loss provision, this is the interesting item. Last year they provisioned for 2.415 billion shillings. This time it's only 56 million. So you're releasing significant money into the P&L account. Profit before tax and exceptional items was up 882%. Profit after tax up 478%. EPS up 447.826%. No dividend. They are saying, this is the key, that the NSSF and National Treasury to inject 4.2 billion shillings as Tier 2 capital, that's via a subordinated loan. And therefore, that is really the issue at hand, is capital. And if they pony up, then I think there's a chance here. But it's been going on a very long time. National Bank said the board of directors notes the reduced capital position of the bank and confirmed that the principal shareholders have provided firm commitments to secure new capital within 180 days. The highlights of the NBK results can be seen in a tweet that they posted. The Nairobi All Shares up 10.6% year to date. It's corrected 1.473% off a record high from last Friday. The NSE 20 is up 2.82% year to date. Once again, thank you kindly for stopping